So nuclear power can provide both heat and electricity at the same time, including our product. So the niche in the market that we are targeting is decarbonizing mining operations in remote locations where electricity grid is not available. So we are providing a solution for local communities to have electricity. You can imagine a Coca-Cola can. If all your energy needs from birth to death, all energy needs throughout your whole life were to come from nuclear energy, the amount of fuel that you would need will fit into that can.
Oh, wow.
The principle of proportionality. Something is more dangerous, you pay more attention. Less dangerous, you pay less attention. So nuclear is at the very extreme of that spectrum where proportionality is lost. It is dangerous, but we spend much more resources than it deserves on safety.
I'm very excited because Professor
Eugene Shwageraus.
So he has this company. They do ODIN Nanoreactors.
Yes.
The real rocket scientists, because they have this nuclear reactor and it's also modular. So he's going to explain to me about their technology.
Nuclear reactors produce no carbon. This particular technology is aiming at decarbonizing mining operations. As humanity, we need to mine more and more things to enable transition to carbon-free economy. So this is what causes climate change. And we don't want that, so we want to minimize carbon emissions. And nuclear power in general is one of the best ways of reducing carbon emissions. So nuclear power can provide both heat and electricity at the same time, including our product. So the niche in the market that we are targeting is decarbonizing mining operations in remote locations where electricity grid is not available. So if you go to a forest and you want to dig for cool things, minerals, you don't have an electric outlet to plug in your charger. So we are providing a solution for local communities to have electricity and also charge equipment that might be electrically driven for mining operations.
Oh, that's great. And is it possible that you can explain why you can make it low pressure?
Yeah, so traditional reactors use water at high temperature. To prevent water from boiling at high temperature, you need to pressurize it. So imagine pressure cooker. So pressure in pressure cooker is roughly 3 units. Traditional reactors will have 150 units of pressure, which is a lot, and also makes them vulnerable to various accidents. We kind of figured out how it works, but we want to in remote locations, everything is slightly different. So if you are far away from civilization, then you need a bit more reliability and simplicity of operation. So we moved away from pressurized water to a different coolant that provides high temperature. So we can operate reactor at high temperature, but you don't need high pressure. So that's the appeal. And if your pressure cooker doesn't have pressure inside, there's nothing to explode or nothing that tries to escape and leave the system. So if the pressure inside your reactor and pressure outside your reactor are the same, there's no incentive for the dangerous radioactive stuff that is within the reactor to leak out. So that's what makes it safe, reliable, and so forth.
This is brilliant, because I really wanted to learn more about nuclear. I know that there's fission, there's fusion.
Nuclear is highly undervalued. For example, recent surveys suggest that half or more than half of population, especially the young people in the UK, are convinced that nuclear has high carbon emissions, which is completely untrue. So carbon emissions of nuclear are lower than any of the renewables, and this is completely overlooked. So nuclear is a climate solution. Another thing that is overlooked is safety perception. So people think like, oh, dangerous. Lots of things are dangerous, including nuclear. And the trick is, if something is dangerous and you take care of it, then the principle of proportionality. Something is more dangerous, you pay more attention. Less dangerous, you pay less attention. So nuclear is at the very extreme of that spectrum where proportionality is lost. It's not like it's not dangerous. It is dangerous, but we spend much more resources than it deserves on safety.
So you pay more attention to
Yes,
mitigation.
that makes everything expensive. And that notion that somehow nuclear accidents are catastrophic or apocalyptic, so people are saying no more Europe, no, humanity will end if we have a nuclear accident, which is completely untrue. The consequences of accidents are relatively easily mitigated if we take proportional stance. Cost-benefit analysis. So as we say, like if everything's dangerous, it's worth spending more resource.
Yeah, I think we all need that solution. We need to pay attention to the right place that you need to pay attention to, and that's why we have this podcast to demystify a lot of.
Please, I'm happy to do more.
Yeah, seemingly difficult concepts.
It deserves to be part of the conversation of climate change.
How would you explain this to an 8-year-old?
Atoms or particles that comprise atoms are held together by forces, so you need to invest energy to break them apart.
Yeah.
Nuclear energy takes advantage of releasing that internal energy of the atom. So because it's extremely concentrated, it has 1,000,000 times higher energy density than any of the fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Visualize this, you can imagine a Coca-Cola can. If all your energy needs from birth to death, all energy needs throughout your whole life were to come from nuclear energy, the amount of fuel that you would need will fit into that can.
Oh, wow.
So also stays where it is, so it doesn't go anywhere. So of all the waste that we're generating to power our lives, stays within a can. This is the scale of the problem, which is not much. Right. So people who are concerned about nuclear waste, for example, if you imagine a can of Coca-Cola, and this is your lifetime waste energy requirements coming from that fuel, and correspondingly you make that much waste for all your energy needs from 0 to 80 years.
Oh, that's amazing. Your lifetime energy usage will be all fit into a Coca-Cola can.
Yes, how's that?
That's amazing. You're going to answer a question from a previous guest.
Yeah, sure.
What is your favorite way of carbon removal?
Carbon in the atmosphere is extremely dilute. There is no good way of removing carbon from atmosphere. So just thermodynamically, from sort of basic principles, laws of physics, the amount of material you have to process, just air flowing through your removal system, is enormous. I'm not an expert. Maximizing natural flow of air through your carbon removal system is helpful. Making use of processes that are there anyway. For example, power generation often involves some sort of thermal energy conversion. Thermal energy conversion is not perfect, so you convert some of the heat to electricity, but you always have some residual heat, which is thrown into the atmosphere through large cooling towers. So one of the concepts I've heard recently is, so there's a natural draft because hot air is lighter, so it ascends and goes through those towers by natural convection. So you don't need to rely on wind, for example, or actively push with compressors air through your chemical beds that remove carbon dioxide. So something like that is pretty cool.
Is there a company already or not?
I'm sure there is a company. I don't know what they're called, or if I knew, I would.
Thank you so much. And now you leave a question for the next guest.
I want a nuclear question. Nuclear question on decarbonizing things other than electricity. Nuclear for chemical plants and refineries. So we want to get off oil as a transportation fuel, but we cannot get off oil for other things like plastics and oil as a raw material.
So your question.
So using nuclear for decarbonizing chemical operations is another thing that is overlooked. I want to hear opinions of your next interviewee, who may or may not be in the chemical industry.
That's fun. Leave another more easier one.
Easier question. Well, you asked me about removing carbon. What people think is more cost effective? Removing carbon from the air or not emitting it in the first place?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for coming to the show. And let's make climate cool again. Thank you. It's fun.
Your mascot.
This is my mascot. It's called Clyde. Clyde, because it's your best mate in climate.
Yeah. Is this after you? Like you modeled it after you?
No.
Guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official composition of ICE's Climate Tech. We thank our guests for sharing their insights and experiences, and we thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Until next time.